What's up, guys? Episode 7 of the Hoop Industry Podcast. We're back, man. We're back after the holidays. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. But as we know, 2026 is here, and that means bigger and better things for everybody around the basketball world. Looking forward to doing this and resuming our show as per usual. Got a lot to talk about today, as you can see. Wearing my Akron stuff. So we're going to talk about the Zips quite a bit. We'll get a little bit into the NBA, conference play starting in college, and of course, everything going on at Run the Show after that. But first, how was your holiday, man? How was things at the Neal household?
Good. Yeah, good. Hey, I've never had a bad Christmas break, I guess if you call it that now. It's funny, you see all these kids when they're back in school and they say, "Oh, how," you say, "How was your break, man?" And they say, "It was good. How was yours?" Well, unfortunately, unless you're in a school system as an adult, you don't have a break, right? So we stayed pretty steady through the holidays. Obviously, Christmas, New Year's, all those, we were off, but we were steady. We had our classic and on the 28th and a lot of stuff going on. So, enjoyed the holidays. Great to see family, good food. I did get sick for a few days there in between Christmas and New Year's, but I'm back alive and ready to roll. The only thing with the New Year that I don't like, and it gets me every year, it usually takes me about a month to adjust to, when I'm writing a date, uh, put the new numbers, right? I've caught myself several times now still putting 2025. I gotta transition and remember to use 2026 now. So that's my least favorite part of the new year. But other than that, I'm excited, refreshed, ready to go.
Yeah, dude, the only thing for me with New Year's and really anytime it's around Christmas and even Thanksgiving, just that like month and a half, my routine's completely shot.
Yeah.
Completely
Chopped up.
shot.
Yeah.
And there's so many different things that I do around like the journalistic side of my job that it's just so hard to stay focused. It's so hard to concentrate on so many things because I multitask a ton. I do this, I do a bunch of different stuff for different websites, and it's not easy. And this week, I'm proud of myself. I've been knocking them out.
Yep.
Interviews from like 2-3 weeks ago. It's the only reason we didn't do this on a Tuesday is because I had to catch up with all that stuff. I had an interview with Jalen Smith of the Bulls. I had an interview with a couple of guys on the Pelicans. I worked on one with Osa Yadoro of the Suns. Before that, I talked to Darron Holmes, actually a pretty local product. Went over to Dayton. It was a pretty big role down there. So I've been trying to knock that out. I'm doing my Clutch Points gig. I'm trying to do my Cavs Roundtable gig. It's been a lot, man. So just trying to get back in the swing of things of what my schedule and what my routine is, as I was saying.
Well, in the space that, we operate in, it's not like, okay, hey, here's the boxes I got to check today and I'm done and I can think about other things or go brain dead and whatever. But around the holiday, but with what we're doing, whatever, as a freelance journalist, whatever you want to call it, and then as an entrepreneur, you could just keep going all day, right? It's an endless pit of, okay, what can I think about now? What work can I do now? How can I position myself for this? So it's limitless, which is why we love it, right? But also it's a blessing and a curse. So around the holidays, when you have the urge to kind of shut it down, which we should do, it's it certainly throws us off our routine and our rhythm with just the space that we operate in, right?
Yeah, resting on your laurels is probably a bad idea in this, but it's natural, right? And you can almost apply that to basketball, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, I got some time to like exhale a little bit, but in reality, the world doesn't stop turning.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I probably have to be better at because it's, just because it's around the holidays doesn't mean I can't be productive. And that's why I was thankful for you because you got me into the Run the Show Classic. We can get into that right now. It was a great event over at Tallmadge High School. Talk about the teams that participated, the turnout. I thought it was fantastic. I did some interviews after the games themselves. We handed out a bunch of individual MVPs and all that good stuff.
Yeah. This was, again, we've talked about it on the show before, but this was the third year we've done it, and we hope to continue to do it. And I thought, nice to have a team from out of state with, Steve McNeese bringing the Pine Richland team over with some good young talent on their team. So it was good to see them. We had a girl score her 1,000th point
That was awesome.
from Nordonia at our
Yes.
event, which was very cool. And then, the last couple of games, we had some really great crowds with Tallmadge playing, as a home team. And then the Wyoga Lake Road, I believe, Wyoga Lake Road, rivalry. You have CVCA, Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy, they played Walsh Jesuit. And then for those that don't know, they are literally across the street from each other. So, it's a good rivalry. Two really, really good coaches. You have Coach Sean Flannery at Walsh Jesuit, son of longtime legendary head coach at St. Ed's. So he does a really, really good job, and I know that thing's going to get going here in the next couple of years, and they're going to be really successful. And then you have Coach Kevin Byrne, who, was the head coach not too long ago at Walsh Jesuit, who is now the head coach at CVCA. Somebody I'm pretty close with. He was a Division III college head coach. Again, led, I think, Walsh to their best season they've had. I think in school history, they went to the regional finals, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years ago when Zach Halligan and those guys were still playing. And so really, really good game to end the night with CVCA and Walsh. CVCA's got a strong team, some older guys, big. I think like their top 8, there's just no drop off. They're just solid, big physical guys. And so really great event. Thanks to Billy Johnson, the athletic director at Tallmadge, for working with us and allowing us to put it on again. And we hope to continue to do it. So a lot of fun.
Yeah. Billy, thanks for the pizza, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the catering of the Jimmy John's. That was also very appreciated for us that had, we were there for 10 hours, something like that, right? So,
it is a long day.
It's a long day, but it's fun. I had a blast.
It's fun. You're just watching hoops and, seeing people in the area, catching up with folks and a lot of the local coaches that are participating. And so, it's a fun day for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. You brought up CVCA. I think this is a good transition over to college basketball. We know that Darryn Peterson started at CVCA.
Correct.
Obviously, he took a different path after that, went prolific out on the West Coast.
Huntington.
And Huntington first. Yeah, Huntington first. Yep.
Adidas connection.
Most definitely. But I just wanted to gauge your thoughts on this because I know that there's quite a few people in Kansas and probably some people around college basketball who are wondering what's going on with Darryn Peterson and the minute restriction and what's going on with the knee, because he's a clear cut, like one or two at worst going into next year's draft in the NBA.
No doubt.
So how do you think Bill Self and the Jayhawks are handling this situation? And why do you think he plays in spurts? If you watch Kansas this year, he plays in spurts. Sometimes he'll play for 3 minutes and then he'll check out and then he'll be on the chair on the outside over on the, next to the bench in his own little chair or something like that. We know he's supremely talented. But for someone to be that high caliber of a prospect, I think this is one of the most unique situations that we've seen in terms of just at the college level, somewhat you could call it load management.
100%. And, without knowing what exactly is going on behind the big green curtain, if you will, it is interesting. It feels different, right? It's, you see it and I think everybody understands the protocol, but it just, for whatever reason, it seems odd. But, look, I think when you have that caliber of player, there's more variables than I think the average fan may consider. One being, hey, let's not run this kid into the ground, so that from a Kansas perspective, that end of February going into March, we have this kid healthy and he could play extended minutes, right? So I think that's one variable, and it's just it's a common thing, and at all levels, and it's with all the science behind it now, there's a calculated, and they all wear the catapults or, there's different brands that track the load and scientifically tell you, hey, like this is the amount of energy he can exert and the pounding his body can take right now before he goes into that red and, injury, the risk of injury or whether it's something else or, especially somebody coming off an injury, hey, he's to that level where we gotta shut him down. His risk of injury is going to be really high once he gets to this quote unquote level of load. And so, that's one variable just from Kansas's perspective. What we don't know is, what's going on the personal side of things, right? Like, as a family, you again, you said it. He may very well be the first pick in the draft, and I think he's pretty much a lock to be one or two. I think it's pretty much him and AJ Dybantsa. That's no secret. Doesn't take a doctor to figure that out. But hey, let's not overdo this thing and have something that's manageable right now turn into something that could affect, you know, making it worse. And now you go, again, I think he's good enough where even if he were to get injured and maybe not play the rest of the season, he'd still go number one or two. But you're just protecting your investment as well, knowing what's at stake. So from my perspective, from 20,000 feet, I just think both sides are being very cautious and making sure they don't overdo it, knowing what's at stake, not only for the end of this season to be playing your best ball as a basketball team, in March, but also knowing what's at stake with the individual and a guy that's, projected to make hundreds of millions of dollars as a professional basketball player. So I think you kind of have those two things at stake because look, any good coach, any good player, nobody wants as a player, nobody wants to play 2 or 3 minutes and then come back out. Like that's not really good for the player to get in a rhythm. And it's just, you just don't do that. Right. Especially for one of your main guys. So, and as a coach, that any good coach knows that you're not just putting a guy in for 2 or 3 minutes, pulling him out and then doing the same thing, 6 minutes later. That's just not, it's just not a great, a great way to operate. Right. And so certainly, they're following protocol from what the science says, what the medical staff is recommending. And I think they're just being cautious and gradually building them back up.
Yeah. I guess my next question on that, because now you've piqued my interest a little, is like, especially now with NIL, and they are getting paid. They do have guaranteed money at this point. Do you think that there is a conflict of interest with that? Because there's ways to make sure you're saving your body, but also let's cut the crap. We know that college athletes are basically semi-pros now because they are getting paid.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, because if that's the standard for number one overall picks going forward, how does that affect the state of college basketball? How does that affect the state of how those decisions are made?
Valid point. And, you said semi-pro. I would go out on a limb and they're professionals, especially.
Well, we did just see James Najee go down to Baylor,
especially the high major level.
Yeah.
Look, those guys are making more money than I would say 80% of professional basketball players, right? You got to remember, not every professional basketball player that's playing overseas or whatever in the G League is making six figures. The majority of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many leagues. There's so many levels of professional basketball across the world. So, you're exactly right. Like, to me, it's from a monetary standpoint, it is professional basketball.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out the gray area and how to define it and what the stipulations are and what the regulations are.
And it's even worse in college football, as we've seen too. All that stuff going on with DeMond Williams over at Washington. That's all collegiate athletics is in such an odd spot right now.
It's in a terrible spot. And again, I totally blame the NCAA for years of, I think, arrogance, neglect, and just, thinking that their word rules all. And, quite frankly, their regulations and bylaws are not the law of the land. So again, we've talked about this before, but what you've seen is, now that people are the first time somebody challenged them and they lost, that just opened up the floodgates. and now they're not going to win any lawsuits. And I think they're just basically waiting for, Congress and lawmakers to essentially create the bylaws and the laws for them, because their hands are pretty much tied, and there's nothing really they can do, because I think some arrogance and neglect over the last 25, 30 years put them in this position, right? So yeah, to your point though, it's like, okay, hey, if this kid is signed to play at this university and is making multi-millions of dollars, yeah, from a fan's perspective, from a university's perspective, from, the collective's perspective, yeah, there is an interesting conflict there of, okay, so we're paying you all this money to be here, but we're also saving you for when you leave here and make sure that you get all that money. So, I think it's a double-edged sword for sure. And, yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic for sure.
Let's talk about the other side of this. Another freshman who's just blowing up. You mentioned him earlier, AJ Dybantsa. If you just look at some of the stat lines he's had, it's been insane. But also, if you look at just the play overall and his just overall strength and improvement over the season, even at all three levels, you worked with him over the summertime here in Cleveland. If you could just give us a little glance and in-depth look at what he's capable of and what stood out to you in those workouts and what you're seeing now at BYU.
Yeah, I think so luckily, we've had the opportunity to see both of these guys up close and personal when it comes to AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson. When Matt Futch was the head coach at CVCA, we would go in and train their team and do some skill stuff with them. So, I've been with both of those guys on the court and obviously seen them up close and personal multiple times. With AJ, we had the opportunity to work with him on the court this summer for a handful of days in Cleveland when he was in town. And then 2 or 3 years ago, he was a participant at the Nike Academy out on Nike's campus, which I work and coach every August, and I have for 3 years
over
now.
In Portland, right?
So the first 2 years I did it, they did it on Nike's campus in Portland, technically Beaverton, just outside of Portland. This past summer, they moved it to LA, which is where they originally did it. When they kind of moved it out of, they used to do it in Akron because it was the King James Skills Academy, but they've kind of rebranded, restructured it. So anyway, the thing, in my opinion, that sets both of those guys apart is their maturity. They both have very mature games. I think that's a reflection of they're pretty mature young men, right? Like you talk to them, you feel like you're talking to an adult, okay? And what are they? 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
They're kids, they're kids, right? And so yeah, you just really feel the maturity level that they both have, and they're sharp human beings. They're very smart. They're articulate, and again, you just feel like you're talking to a seasoned adult, right? And so I think that translates into their game where they're smart enough to know, hey, like here's how I be efficient, and you can see it in their footwork. Like, they have footwork and things to their games that you see that you a lot of times with talented players you don't see till you're, a 3 or 4 year NBA vet. Or so, like AJ specifically, just like his patience in the paint, right? He can be an athlete and explode and get to the paint whenever he wants, but when he gets down there and he doesn't have an angle, like he's really good on 2 feet and being patient and reading. And Darren's the same way, right? They're just so mature as people, as young people, and their games are very mature. Where, there's other kids out there that I think ability-wise, athleticism, talent, skill, that might be just as skilled or have as much ability, but up here they just don't have it quite figured out. It hasn't slowed down for them yet in terms of thinking the game and seeing things and understanding, picking your spots, things like that. Where I think both of these guys you could throw in an NBA game right now, and I don't think they'd struggle in those areas where a lot of these younger kids that are super talented, they would. And that's the differentiator to me.
And that's the thing too, is, I mean, Darren's a point, AJ, I don't know if he's a point forward or anything like that. What would you call him it's obviously
basketball player.
Yeah, I say positionless basketball, whatever you want to say,
player,
but their roles do differ a little bit. So that part is interesting to me too, though, because you've got to be able to, like you said, think the game, process all that good stuff. When defenders are coming at you, you have different coverages, and that's going to prepare you for the next level. So appreciate that insight. Let's take a step back. Talked about me wearing my hoodie earlier.
Zips.
Couple of big time milestones that we got to shout out. Our first guest on this podcast, Tavari Johnson, reaching 1,000 points in his career. Obviously doing a great job overall this season and getting national recognition too at that. So very happy for TJ. And then John Gross, 800 career wins. How about that? That's a big time milestone. I think you were saying that only Keith Dambrot and Bob Huggins accomplished this in the history of Akron. Just that overall number.
Yeah, I believe if I'm understanding it correctly, and they put a publication out last week, of all the Akron coaches, there's only 3 that have reached 800 wins, and that's Coach Huggins, who was there, I think, when really brought him to national prominence when they were still correct. I believe they were still Division II. I could be mistaken there.
Late 70s, right?
I think so. Yep. And then obviously Keith Dambrot, who brought them to Division I prominence and kind of got them over the hump with, going to the NCAA tournament 4 or 5 times and just creating that culture. And then now Coach Gross is really carrying it forward. And, we all know about their success in the last 6 or 7 years. So really cool milestones. And it's awesome that, not only as we're both Zips here. We both have Akron degrees to some extent, really in a program that I worked in and am still passionate about and follow closely. Very cool to see that this close to home, we have that level of coaches, or we have had that high level of coaches, right in our backyard.
And it's great too. We got good friend Pete Farkas on that staff as well. So shout out to Pete, great photographer as well. We got to give him a little bit of shout out on that.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife. I love it. Yeah. Were you able to catch that Zips Miami game last weekend? It was amazing.
Yeah.
Back and forth battle. I've got a little bit of ties to this because, as you know, Cade Davies, my brother, he plays at Capital down to sophomore in Columbus, but he used to be teammates with Luke Skaljak, who
local talent.
Is Mr. Basketball a couple years ago in Ohio, ends up going to Miami, starts up this program, big time stage for him last year as a freshman on the conference stage, but comes out, looks really solid, especially in the crunch time moments for the Red Hawks. They've got a good thing going down there right now. Peter Suber, Evan Osaro. Sorry if I'm missing anybody, but I don't pay that much attention to Miami as much as I do my Zips. So, but every time I watch them play, it's just so fun to see those two teams kind of get together and battle like that. And it was down to the wire over down there last weekend.
They both play a great brand of basketball, right? Shooting, ball movement, body movement, space. They play super conceptually, read and react. And so, and good players. And it's funny, Coach Gross and Coach Steele are, stepbrothers, which is a crazy fact in itself. But Miami right now, the latest mid-major national rankings came out and they're ranked number 1 in the mid-major rankings.
Lost.
Akron, I think, is 11th.
Yep.
And so, Akron's played a stronger non-conference schedule. I think pretty significant, better non-conference schedule, but nonetheless, 15-0 is 15-0. And I think we're going to come down to a classic, some classic MAC magic here end of February into March, because I think there's 4 teams that could have a shot at winning it with Miami, Akron, Kent, and Ohio. And then you know what? BG is doing some interesting things. They beat Kansas State at Kansas State.
That's impressive.
They're playing well. They really guard. I think they're one of the best defensive teams in the conference. So I'm actually going to back to Northwest Ohio this evening.
Home for you.
Bowling Green plays Akron. My dad's team that he played on at Bowling Green, 1981 team, getting honored for their accomplishments during that game. So going over to hang out with him and and see them be honored. So it'll be cool. See the Zips and see that team that my dad played on get honored, 1981 MAC champions. So that'll be cool.
Congratulations to Mr. Guy. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man. Going to the Stro tonight. That's gonna be fun.
So
Also another note too on Akron. We were talking about Walsh earlier. Zach Halligan's been getting playing time for him. So it's awesome to see that just the local connection ended up getting the kind of recognition and also just the reward for the way that the practice habits come through.
Well, Zach, and I think it's a reflection of their family. He's just a winner. He's just an absolute winner, and he's always got great energy. He's never an energy drain. You just always feel good about Zach, and everything he's around and teams that he's part of just win. And I think, as a walk-on at Akron, and it's interesting, um, he kind of bet on himself where, hey, if you're going to be a walk-on somewhere, it's kind of like, oh, do you want to play or, do you want to be part of a cool, bigger program? And, Zach, again, he just continues to win. He's put himself in a position where they feel like they have to play him just because of his winning attributes and whatever it is, he has it. So, as somebody that, has trained with us quite a bit and really gotten to know the Halligan family with Dennis, who played at Creighton, and, Tyler, the older brother who's played at a couple places collegiately, is a strong player as well. Great family. So really cool to see Zach have success and started some games and playing well and contributing to the Zips winning games. Very, very cool.
And if you want another example of how small the basketball world is, and this isn't really that small, but Shema Scott, who's been really good here in this latest season with the Zips. He's very good friends with Craig Porter Jr., who is having a phenomenal year with Cleveland. So they were together at Wichita State. Craig told me that a couple years ago because Shema had transferred in.
Got it.
And I was just asking around, and he's like, hey, I guess so you had your Akron stuff on. And he's like, I played with Shema. And I was just like, this is why I love hoop, man. It's just so funny.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that. I never would have put that together. Yeah.
Yep. So it truly is a small world. Anything else that you want to add? You've been keeping your eye on the NBA at all?
Yeah, always, our guy Micah Potter, who the last handful of summers when he's back in town.
Hell yeah, man.
He's from Menor, Ohio, and so when he's in town, we train him and we work with him. Great dude, awesome guy. He's been grinding, right? And I think he's been on several two-way contracts. He was in Salt Lake or Utah for handful of years, and I know he was on a two-way and was in Miami's organization, I think his rookie year, maybe his second year, but finally got a full-time contract with the Pacers in the last couple of weeks. Has played well in some of the minutes he's had, so super happy for him to see that as a guy that's close to our organization. And like we said, we're in the gym with him when he's home for the summers for a few weeks. Dacian Nix, if you're somebody that's open to watching some G League basketball, those games are, or if you want to be thrilled, watch a G League game, because I can't tell you how exciting the last 7 minutes of a G League game are. Just 20-point deficits erased and just explosive plays. It's a faster paced game actually than the NBA. If you go by, statistically speaking. So Dacian Nix, 6'4", I don't know what he weighs, 240 point guard, super explosive, scores at all three levels, really playing well, a guy that we spent a ton of time with this past summer. So we follow him closely. He's playing well, top 3 in the G League in scoring. He's in top 10 in several other categories. Really hoping that, somebody gives him another chance here and calls him up as 10-day start, and maybe some teams will, make some contract changes here. So really keeping our eye on that and following him. And then all the other guys. Yeah, we always keep our eyes on the NBA games. It's kind of the dog days of the NBA right now where, all-star breaks still, 6-7 weeks away. no crazy. Well, I guess the Trae Young trade
Yeah.
is interesting, but
I don't want to go into
we're
that
not
one.
super close to the trade deadline yet,
Right.
and so it's kind of.
I want to see what happens with JK.
Yeah, JK will be interesting. I hope he can land in a good spot where they value him. And then, obviously we're not close to the playoffs yet. Where teams kind of turn it on and see how things shape up for the playoffs. So it's kind of the dog days, and you're just kind of seeing, how things kind of work themselves out here in mid-January. But definitely be interesting. I cannot wait for the trade deadline and to see what happens here.
Oh, you're one of those sickos, huh?
Oh yeah. The drama.
The drama, I hate it. That's to be quite honest, and maybe this is why I don't belong in media anymore. I like the trade deadline itself.
Yeah.
It's the rumors that come beforehand that just absolutely killed me because they're coming from all angles, all places, and it's just a whole mess.
That is definitely out of control. Nothing we can do about it. But
no,
I just love the schematic, with all the numbers and how the contracts work and, how to make it fit. It's impressive to see, these people in the front offices and what they come up with and their planning and, teams that are planning for 3 years from now, teams that are planning for right now and trying to win now. It's always interesting just to see the chess match, right? And that's my favorite part of it.
Most definitely. Real quick. Run the show. I know it's 60 degrees and sunny outside right now, but it is not spring. It is early January. What's going on at RTS this month and going forward that you would like to talk about?
Business as usual, usually over the holidays and the second half of December, first part of January, people are busy, but things are steady and picking up with our training members, and we're launching our herd program, which is really focused on having a few AAU teams, and it combines the player development that we offer, the athletic development, and really focused on teaching basketball and concepts and tying that all together instead of just throwing some teams together for 8 weeks and just playing. Right, we're really trying to teach the game and helping young players play in concepts and understand coverages. And so really just pouring into a couple of teams. So we're excited about launching that program here this spring. But pretty much business as usual. So nothing too out of the norm here. We're happy to get back in the routine after the holidays and just keep grinding away.
Get me back on my routine, please, God, because it has been tough to figure it out. I'll say this. I'm glad that we got back together here for episode 7 of Hoop Industry Podcast. We'll definitely be having some more guests here in the coming weeks. We're going to figure all that out, get our bearings back underneath us. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe, leave your comments, give us a rating and a review, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of Hoop Industry Podcast.